Yo, what's good, fam? Welcome back to the channel for another GTA Online video. Appreciate you guys stopping by. And we're going to switch it up a little bit today, okay? This is not going to be a glitch video. This is going to be a kind of the start of a PvP tips and tricks video, okay? I'm going to be showing anything from, weapon preferences to vehicles to settings to, just general tips and tricks for PvP and just online play in general, alright? So I figured we'd start out with a settings video, okay? So we're going to run through my settings and show you what my preferences are. Now a lot of this is going to be opinion based, guys, especially when we get into sensitivities, okay? One sensitivity isn't for everybody, okay? Everybody has, their own way that they like to play, and they have their own feel for the controller, okay? So this may be a little bit different from everybody, so don't think, you have to take my settings and copy them, to help your game out. Just play around with the sensitivities, alright? And anytime you adjust your sensitivities, play with it for a week or so like that and then see what you think about it. If you don't like it, then come back to it and tweak it a little bit more, okay? Don't go through here changing your sensitivities, play with it for an hour and be like, yeah, I don't like it, switch it back, because you haven't even really given enough time to fully grasp the change, alright? So we're just going to hop right into it, guys, and I'm going to show you my settings, and we'll kind of run through what everything is and why I have my stuff set up this way, alright? So right here under settings, the first thing we got is controls, okay? Now this top bar, all this does is change what you're viewing. You can view your controls in vehicle, what your controls would be. You can view what they would be in an aircraft, what they would be on foot, okay? So this doesn't really change anything. This is just displaying what all the buttons do, okay? Now down here, I like to keep vibration off. I don't like it. It seems like a distraction to me, so I prefer to play with it off. Inverted look, I prefer to play with that off. Some people may play with it on. That's going to be personal preference there. Okay, now the control type here. This is one of the more important things I'm going to cover today. And I play on alternate FPS too, as you can see. Now the main thing this does for your controls is this swaps your L1 and R1 with L2 and R2, okay? So instead of shooting with your triggers, you're shooting with your bumpers, okay, up top. You're using L1 to aim and R1 to shoot versus using L2 to aim and R2 to shoot, okay? And the benefit of this is, your triggers are pressure sensitive, so there's a little bit of delay there when you press on those versus the top L1 and R1, they're just regular buttons, okay? So they can be hit a little bit faster. Also, you're using those buttons with your index finger, okay? If you hold your controller the way I do, okay? I use my middle fingers for my L2 and R2 and my index fingers for L1 and R1. I recommend trying to hold your controller that way because it is faster than just using your index fingers for both, the triggers and the bumpers, okay? If you have a finger for each one, that's going to be much faster. But the advantage there, like I said, is being able to use a button instead of a trigger. It's going to be much quicker. Also, using your index finger to shoot with is going to, increase your response time a little bit, since most people are more dexterous with their index fingers, all right? So that's why I have mine on that. Also, what this changes is this changes your run, okay, your sprint to R2 instead of X, alright? Now let me show you some things that this allows you to do here, okay? Now with my sprint as X, I can never run with my interactions menu open, okay? Because if I try to run here, alright, see, I'm selecting stuff when I'm pressing X, okay? Now you see, since I have alternate FPS, I can hold R2 and I can run and I can select stuff in here while running, okay? Now that's not something you can do if you use standard controls, alright? Now the main reason that would be useful is, say you're playing a heist or like one of the Bogdan missions, any type of mission like that where you're facing a lot of NPCs, alright? You can use your snacks in those obviously to regain health, okay? But the problem there is if you're using X to run with, well, now you can't run and use these snacks. So see, right now I can run and I can use snacks at the same time, okay? So if I was taking damage and I was trying to get away from someone, I can run and spam X while I'm running. See how I'm eating snacks as I'm running? So that's a pretty big advantage there. And also, if you have your controls like that, what this allows me to do is, you can't switch weapons with your interactions menu open, but say I already have a weapon equipped, alright? I can leave my interactions menu open right here over snacks, and I can play the game like this, okay? I don't have to, you know, I can run, the only thing you can't do is you can't roll with your interactions menu open, okay? So it's not the best for PvP, but if you're facing up NPCs, you don't really need to be able to roll so much. So, let's see, this allows me to do everything I want to do with my snacks open, okay? So at any point, I can just eat snacks if I'm taking damage, all right? Same way with your armor, all right? Your body armor. You can hover right here over armor. If you need armor, all you have to do is select it, all right? While you're playing. You can be shooting and select armor at the same time, or snacks, okay, while you're shooting. So it does help a lot in that sense, all right? One last thing that made me prefer to choose the alternate FPS 2 over the standard controls, all right? It switches your role from what I believe before was square, now it's X to roll, okay? So what this allows me to do with having that coupled with R2 to run, I can strafe while running and still aim, all right? Now, you know, if you're using X to run with, you can't strafe and aim at the same time because you'll be holding down X, right? You'd be holding X, and that doesn't allow you to aim while you're holding X, all right? You can't move your right stick if your thumb's on X, right? So that's another big advantage. It also makes it easier to roll, right? Because I can hold R2, run, aim, and then just pull off the right stick to tap X to roll, all right? So it's much better in a PvP sense using alternate FPS 2, okay? But again, guys, that's going to be personal preference. You may really like and be really good with the standard controls or whatever it is you use, okay? I'm just kind of explaining to you why I prefer what I do, and you know, maybe you'll like it as well, who knows? So moving right along, we're gonna get into sensitivity. Like I said, guys, this is more personal preference as well. These sensitivities may not be for you. You may like yours totally different, and that's fine. You know, everybody has their own sensitivity, okay? But just play around with it. You know, you may be able to tweak it some and find something you like a little better. So the first thing we got here is third-person aiming sense, okay? Now, obviously, this is going to be when we're in third-person view, and this is only while we're looking down sights. This is our sensitivity for this, okay? What we got too is we have look around sensitivity, okay? Now this is just for when we're not aiming, okay? This is just for when we're moving our right stick without aiming down sights. That's this sensitivity, okay? So we know what's controlling there, all right? And we know what those are doing. So the way I have mine set up is I like my look around sensitivity to be a little bit higher, okay, than my aiming sensitivity. Obviously, when you're aiming, you want to be able to be a little bit more precise, okay? But you want your look around sensitivity to be a little higher, so if you're playing some run and gun, when I come around the corner like this, I can be rotating my camera really quick, like, okay, to look around this corner. But then when I aim down sights, it's a little bit lighter on the sensitivity so that I can be more precise with my aim, all right? So that's kind of why you see those staggered like that. That's why I keep my look around sensitivity a bit higher than I do my aiming sensitivity. And I have them pretty much even for third person and first person, okay? I keep those pretty much even. Now, your dead zone, I have these turned all the way up. I'm not going to get too big into, you know, what your dead zone does here. Your dead zone's basically like a dead spot in the stick, okay? It's pretty much is, but it's the dead zone, okay? Now, what that does is it bases on how far you have to move your stick before it starts moving, okay? So it's basically, I mean, it is what it says it is. It's a dead zone, okay? Now I keep mine turned all the way up, which I believe basically makes the dead zone as small as possible. Let's play with this just for a minute. Let's turn this all the way down, okay? And let's see. This is basically going to adjust the amount of input it takes to start moving the crosshairs, okay? Now you'll see right here, I'm just barely touching the stick. So you see how there's basically no dead zone here at all, okay? If you barely touch the stick, it starts to move your crosshairs, okay? So I like a little bit of dead zone, so I just keep mine all the way up because the sensitivity for this isn't very much. Like you can, you know, if you change this dead zone, you know, 1 or 2 clicks, you will hardly even notice it, okay? So I like to keep mine way up here. This gives you a bit of a you know, so that if you're resting your hand on the stick, you're not moving it just with each little nudge. Like you can see right here, I'm having to move my stick a bit more to get it to start to move, okay? So the lower your dead zone is, the less you have to move the stick to move the crosshairs, okay? The higher it is, the more you have to move the stick to move the crosshairs, okay? That's kind of how the dead zone works there. And moving right along, our acceleration, okay? This is basically the acceleration of the crosshairs moving at full tilt on the stick. So when we move the stick all the way to the right, there's a bit of a delay there before our character reaches full speed with their turning, okay? And that's what the acceleration controls, is the time it takes for our character to reach full speed on their rotation, alright? Alright, so moving right along. Let's see, the next thing we got down here, okay, we went over the dead zone, the acceleration, alright. Now from here, it's pretty much just going to be settings, alright? So, allow movement when zoomed. This is when you're using a sniper, okay? If you're zoomed in with a sniper and this is turned off, obviously you're not going to be able to move. I like to keep this on. A small tip, we're not going to get into this too much, but a small tip when using a sniper, you should always be in first person view, okay? Because you strafe much quicker in first person. You see, this is me moving the stick back left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, okay? I'm moving the stick back pretty quickly, back and forth, alright? Now you see how fast I'm strafing? Now watch when we get in first person view, same thing. Alright, I'm moving the stick in the same exact way I just was, but the only difference is you see how much faster we're strafing? This is why you want to snipe in first person view, okay? Because this is going to let you make much better adjustments to your movement, alright? You're going to be able to move back and forth easier. This is also going to make it easier for you to dodge the person shooting at you, okay? So just a little tip there with the sniper while we're discussing the you know, the move while zoomed. That's why you want that to be on, otherwise you're not going to be able to move around while you're zoomed in, alright? Now switch, hydraulic, and handbrake, I leave this off. Doesn't really matter, personal preference. Drive-by control types. I used to play with this just on fire, so it only takes one button to shoot with, alright? But I've gotten to where now I kind of like having the option to aim before I fire, so this does take 2 buttons to do this with, though. You'll have to use, obviously, your aim button and your fire button, whereas this one, you would just have to use your fire button to shoot while driving by, okay? So it just changes it pretty much from needing 1 button to needing 2 buttons, okay? So I like to leave this on. Light bar effect, it's pretty much just a blur from the lights, okay? It doesn't really matter, I'll leave it on. Audio, if you don't like the music, I'll keep my music turned off for the car so that every time I get in a car, the music isn't blaring, alright? Cameras, allow independent camera modes. Not too sure what the difference with this is. I have always left this off. If any of you guys know, please let me know down in the comments exactly what this is for. Like I said, I've never really messed with it. Vehicle camera, I like to keep this on high. Okay, now I believe you have 3 different settings. I believe you can set it to low, medium, or high, and let me kind of show you what the difference is here. So let's go back over to our settings, camera. Alright, now watch when I switch to low. See how it moves the camera down like this? And this kind of obstructs your view with the car, okay? It lets you see less of what's directly in front of you because you're down like this below the car, okay, versus being up here, being able to see more. Now, personally, I wouldn't mind if the high setting was even up a little bit higher like this. Unfortunately, it's not quite that far up, and I'll show you guys right here. If you switch from low to high, now it's just going to go from what I had it set at. Let's move it back down here. Camera, low, high. See how it lets your camera sit up more now. Now, typically, let me just drive forward a little bit to let the camera kind of reset itself here. All right. All right, this is where the camera would naturally sit right here. All right. So you can see right here how much lower that is than this one. Okay. And I was wrong about the 3 settings. There's only low and high, so I definitely prefer this. Seems like you can see more, like you've got a better vantage point up here. You know, moving right along in camera, your field of view, first person, you definitely want this turned all the way up. All right. your first person auto level camera, you want that on. That way you don't have to keep leveling the camera. You know, if what that's gonna do is, you know, if you're in first person like this, let's see, and you're looking down, all right, it's not gonna automatically level the camera. Like say you're a little bit off, the camera will stay down like this. See how it's automatically bringing my camera back up? That's what you want. That way you don't have to keep adjusting this, all right? And it sounds so loud in my headset with the rain. Turn it down a little bit. That's better. You know, you don't want to have to keep adjusting that, so it is nice to have this automatically bring it back up for you like that. See how it gradually moves it up? With that off, if you were looking down like this, your character would just stay right here like this, okay? They wouldn't adjust back up for you, so definitely like to have that on. Let's see, camera. Alright, like I said, field of view, you definitely want that all the way up. That's going to allow you to see more of the picture when you're in first person, alright? You can see how this zooms it in, alright? So you definitely want this all the way up because you want to be able to see a wider view of what's in front of you. Now, first person ragdoll, combat roll, and head bobbing, I keep all these off because these are kind of wonky. Like you'll see right here, if you roll like this, with this off, it makes it much nicer because you can keep your target, you know, you can keep your crosshair on point while you're rolling. Whereas if you have that on, whoops, I turned the wrong one off. If you have this on, all right, now watch this. See how like disorienting that is? Like, I just really don't like it. Some people might prefer it, but it seems just to disorientate me from where I was at, okay? So I definitely prefer that. Same way with the head bobbing. All of these just seem to be very disorientating. So I like all of these off, okay? Now the third person cover I like to be on so that if I'm in first person, when I take cover, I can take advantage of that third person peek so I can look around stuff like this, okay? If you have first person on, obviously you're just gonna stay looking this way, okay? You're not gonna be able to see what's around the corner. So I definitely prefer the third person cover. All right, moving right along on camera. First person vehicle auto center. Basically that just does the same thing that this is doing, the auto level. It's just gonna keep bringing your camera back to the middle of the vehicle. Like if you're looking over out of the window and you let go of the stick, it'll slowly bring your camera back over to the center, okay? First person drive-by camera relative to vehicle, okay? What this does, with this off, if you're in first person and you're using your aim button like this, okay? When you move the car back and forth, see how my crosshair stays in the same place? That's because right now my aim is not relative to vehicle, and this is actually how I prefer this, so that if I'm trying to aim at something, my aim stays right there in the same spot, whether I'm turning left or right, okay? Now with that on, let's go back here, turn this on, relative to vehicle on. What happens when you're aiming and you turn the car back and forth, see how my crosshair stays with the vehicle back and forth instead of staying where I aimed it? That's the difference there, and I really don't like this because I don't like the movement of my car to affect my aim. As you know, I like to keep that to a minimal, so that's why I leave that off. I'll go back down to camera, we'll turn that back off, alright. Alright, moving on, down to display, okay, radar, if it's on, it shows the roads and the, you know, the buildings, whatever's on your map, okay. If it's off, all it does is show icons for things around you, alright? Pretty self-explanatory. The HUD, this is just your on-screen display, like what type of car you're in, the town, you know, the different things that show up in the bottom right-hand corner to show, like I said, the car, the town, the street, stuff like that. You can have that on or off, okay? I like to leave it on. I like to leave my radar on too. I don't know why I turned that off. Weapon targets, you can, this is the dot right here, and this is going to be like a four-lined crosshair, okay? I definitely like the simple one, just the dot, takes up less screen, alright, it doesn't seem so in the way. The reticle size, you can either make it fatter or smaller, okay, and this is just on the simple reticle, okay, the dot. You can make the dot much bigger, or you can make the dot much smaller. I recommend leaving it down small. Once again, it's not going to clog up the screen, and it's not going to, you know, be such a distraction to you and hide what you're trying to look at. You know, if you're looking at somebody far off and you have this turned way up, the reticle is almost going to hide them, all right? So I definitely recommend leaving this down. GPS route, pretty self-explanatory. This turns your GPS route on or off, all right? Expanded radar, okay? If you turn this on, you'll see our radar is much larger now. Now, this is not good for like a PvP person on, you know, if you're both on foot or you're both in a small area, because this isn't going to really show quite how close they are to you, okay? On this, it'll look like they're really close if they're really far, or it may even look like they're really far away when they're really close, all right? It's kind of hard to judge distance with this setting right here, okay? This is really good though if you're in a plane, all right? If you're using jets or you like to use jets, this is definitely the way to go, because this lets you see things much further away, all right? Because you're covering a lot of ground in a plane really fast. So this is definitely what I use when I'm using any type of plane or a jet or a helicopter. But on foot, definitely not the best, all right? So we're going to turn this back down to off, the expanded radar. Player overhead display, I keep this off. I believe this is this is for your player, all right? This judges whether you can see your player overhead display on or off, all right? So I'll leave mine off. This isn't going to affect whether other players can see yours, okay? It's only so that you can see it, all right? In-game depth of field, all right? I keep this off, and this is really handy when using a sniper, okay? Because what happens is when you're looking far away, the game will kind of blur what's in the background. Now, it's going to be really hard to see right now while it's raining, but the game will kind of focus like a camera, okay? Like, it'll focus on what you're looking at, and it'll kind of blur what's in the background if this is on, okay? With it off, it doesn't so much blur the things in the background. Let me see, did I have it on or off? Yeah, I had mine off. Let's turn it on real quick. Now, and what it's going to do, now, like I said, it's really hard to tell right now while it's raining, but this basically blurs things further back. So I definitely recommend keeping this off, especially if you like to play a lot of sniper game, because it's going to make seeing things in the distance much easier with this off. All right, now the screen kill effect, pretty self-explanatory. It's that flash that you get on the screen when someone dies or someone's killed by you. Subtitles, leave those off. I don't like them. Your measurements, you can either use imperial or, you know, the metric system. I prefer this one. I live in the United States, so we use this measurement system here. Notifications. I keep all these off, especially when I'm recording. I don't like these popping up on the screen. So if you've got a time that you don't like these popping up, or if you just want certain ones turned off, these are all the alerts that show up in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. So you know, if you don't like those, here's where you would turn those off. All right. And that's pretty much it, guys. Your Rockstar editor, you know, you can set this up to save a replay when you die, or you can set it up to, what you'll do is you'll just hold down, and you see in the bottom left-hand side of the corner, I can press X to start recording, all right, and then I can hold down again, and I can either save recording or cancel it, all right. You can also turn on action replay right here, okay, and what that's going to do is that's going to change this right here to or sorry, no, that didn't change the death capture. What that changes is when at any time, like say something, you know, really awesome happens and you want to clip it, all right, you just hold down and press X, and I think it saves like the last 30 seconds or 15 seconds. I'm not exactly sure how much time it does save. If you guys know, post down in the comments for me, but it'll save like the last, you know, 15 to 30 seconds for you, okay? So that it's really nice if, you know, if you're wanting to capture something or something happened and you're like, oh man, I wish I'd recorded that, then you can just hold down, press X, and it'll save that replay for you, okay? Now if you're always setting yours up to record, you know, beforehand, then you can just leave it like this, and you can press start recording, you know, when you get ready to do anything you want to record. So pretty simple there, guys. We got into a few things I didn't really even mean to cover, like the editor and stuff there, but that's pretty much going to do it for this video. Like I said, just a simple run through of my settings and kind of why I like it that way. So leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Alright, if you're new to the channel, subscribe, your notifications on so you don't miss any future uploads. Okay, I think depending on how well this video does, we may do more of these PvP tips, and we'll cover everything, you know, like I said, from weapons to vehicles to kind of strategies and tips and tricks. So that's going to do it for me today, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.